We have our fingers on the pulse of local and international maritime trade. This is Nimasa This Week. Hello and welcome. My name is Iretiola Doyle. Now, if you were watching the show last week, you would have heard that we were going to bring you bigger details of Nimasa's participation at the Workboat Show in New Orleans, USA. So today, we're kicking it off with this report by Osage Edward of the PR unit of Nimasa, who was also a member of the delegation that attended the Workboat Show in New Orleans. This report is read from our studios.
During the just concluded International Workboat Show in New Orleans, Louisiana, USA, the team from the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa, organized a side meeting where they preached partnership to grow the Nigerian maritime sector. Events like the International Workboat Show in New Orleans, Louisiana, provides a platform for major stakeholders in the maritime sector across the world to converge and deliberate on how to grow the sector. While Nimasa participated fully in the event proper, the agency also organized a business session which lasted for over 4 hours. The session involved business networking over cocktails, a facility tour, and a business development paper presentation session at the Port of New Orleans. These were meant to provide a platform for Nigeria to reach out directly to maritime players outside Nigeria. The Senior Special Assistant to Mr. President on Maritime Services, Mr. Olugbengaleke Oyewole, informed the audience about the achievements of the President Goodluck Jonathan's administration.
I can tell you precisely in the next few months to come, they would have gone very far in the implementation of the ISPS code, increasing improving the maritime security as much as possible. Again, we have the Nimasa also, which is the Nigeria Maritime Administration and Safety Agency. They've done very well in ship inspections, better than it used to be.
Potential development partners were comprehensively briefed about investment opportunities in the Nigerian maritime sector and taken through details of the measures put in place by the Nigerian government to provide the enabling platform to enhance the security of maritime investments in the country.
We are a emerging nation in maritime operations, so we have a lot of avenues for investment, and that is exactly what we laid down yesterday. And we expect that from now on, they'll know exactly what we stand for, and they have an opportunity who to talk to, who can give them directions on the best way to do these things. So that's why we are here.
Chairman of the Port of New Orleans, Dan Parker, presented an overview of the New Orleans port to the Nigerian delegation, during which he explained that development can only be sustained by constant investment, particularly in research. Noted the need for effective collaboration across international boundaries to grow the maritime sector.
We hope and believe that at the end of our visit, we'll be better informed and then we'll depart New Orleans with new ideas to add value to what we are already doing in Nigeria to make our maritime environment a better place.
The Director General of Nimasa, Mr. Ziakede Patrick Akpo-Bolokemi, delivered a paper titled Nigeria, an Emerging Maritime Nation. He gave the audience an overview of the many opportunities available to potential investors in the maritime sector of Nigeria's economy. The DG, whose speech was read by the agency's Executive Director, Maritime Safety and Shipping Development, Captain Bala Agaba, said the Nigerian maritime sector has the capacity to serve as a catalyst for the growth of other sectors of the Nigerian economy, adding that the shipbuilding and ship repair subsector in Nigeria is desirous of partnership with foreign investors. He thus invited the audience to come and invest in Nigeria. Bob Wetter, the chairman of the Louisiana District Export Council, noted that the Nigerian maritime sector is full of potentials waiting to be harnessed.
We're not only interested in doing exports and business with Nigeria, but as you have mentioned, there's a lot of people that are interested in foreign investment. And they need to understand how to do the foreign investment. And by working with our embassies together, they can help us build this relationship and understand how do we do business together.
After the business development paper presentation session, the team retired to another round of networking, exchanging ideas on how to develop a symbiotic relationship between Nimasa, international investors, and government officials from the state of Louisiana. Later in the day, the team undertook a visit to the Delgado Community College's Fire and Industrial Training Facility, a U.S. Coast Guard approved training facility where Rick Schwab and Ricky Haid made presentations on a safety drill. At the end of the entire session, some participants were quite encouraged about the emerging new facts extrapolated from their interaction with Nimasa officials concerning the Nigerian maritime sector. All these networking sessions are indicative of the commitment of the management of Nimasa to create a progressive revolution in the Nigerian maritime sector through international diplomacy at the summit level, to engender an optimal and sustainable infrastructural base by expanding existing domestic and international maritime economic frontiers for growth. Special announcement from the Nimasa Science and Technical College. The admission list of students into the Nimasa Science and Technical College Okoloba, Delta State has been released by the management of the college. The full list was published on the 23rd of October in the following publications: The Vanguard, The Sun, and Leadership newspaper. Parents and guardians are requested to accompany successful candidates to the Nimasa Zonal Office, 19 Warri Saple Road, Warri, Delta State, for registration and documentation between the 28th of October and the 1st of November 2013 during working hours. For additional information, contact the Nimasa Science and Technical College Management on the following phone lines: 0816 4418735, 0806 387 0170, and 0803 474 1491. Announcer, Management, Nimasa Science and Technical College, Okoloba, Delta State.
Nimasa, Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency. For Ogbonge shipping registration, no. Nimasa, commercial shipping, no. Nimasa, maritime labor,
The Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa, the nation's maritime watchdog, established to promote maritime safety, security, commercial shipping, and regulate maritime pollution. Nimasa is well positioned and committed to take the development and standardization of Nigeria's maritime industry to greater heights. Are you interested in the local or international commercial shipping business or in seafaring and do not know what to do or how to go about it? Nimasa will guide and see you through. Sea pirates, oil thieves, and all forms of dubious and illegal business on Nigeria's maritime domain have no hiding place, because Nimasa's eagle eyes will locate or catch up with you. For Nimasa, it is zero tolerance to sea pollution, as all abandoned ships and wrecks on Nigeria's waterways which pose danger to sea transportation will be cleared. Nimasa, promoting safe and secure maritime environment.
A major plank in Nimasa's strategy to mitigate the skill gap in the seafaring aspect of the maritime industry is the National Seafarers Development Program, NSDP. Our next feature is on the imperative behind the program. Now, this feature was prepared by our production consultant and read by Amanda Akman.
Seafaring ranks amongst the oldest professions in the world. From time immemorial, civilization has had to depend on seafarers for extending the frontiers of cultural and commercial intercourse. Even with the increased sophistication of ocean-going vessels and technological advances of navigational gadgets, the need for the human element as represented by seafarers is still critical. However, there has been a global decline in the number of persons willing to pursue a career in seafaring. This may be attributable to globalization, in that people have become more sedentary by nature and are more comfortable with faster modes of transportation like air travel. While it is true that air travel and land-based modes of transportation have in recent times become more active in the freight of goods, they still have huge limitations in terms of the quantum of goods that are able to move in a world where consumption has increased exponentially. shipping still remains the most viable means of moving bulk goods around the world. However, young people have lost their appetite for adventure that takes them away from the comfort zones of their localities for extended periods of time. There is in effect a global dearth in the number of entrants into the world of seafaring. It was against this backdrop that the International Maritime Organization initiated the Go to Sea campaign in 2007 in a bold attempt to draw the attention of the world to the challenge and encourage strategic initiatives to address the issue. As world trade increases, the need for the services of skilled seafarers also arises. In addition to the global circumstances affecting seafaring, a unique set of circumstances further aggravates the issue in Nigeria's case. The winding up of the Nigerian national shipping line in the 90s has inflicted serious injury on the nation's ability to produce skilled seafarers. During the existence of the national line, whose fleet was principally crewed by Nigerians, trainee seamen from Nigeria were afforded the opportunity of securing sea-time training, a statutory prerequisite for formal qualification as seafarers. In the years between the winding up of the NNSL and now, Nigeria has lost several generations of qualified seafarers. The lacuna created is further exacerbated by the fact that at present it is estimated that Nigeria requires no less than 40,000 qualified seafarers to effectively realize the objectives of the Cabotage Act, which stipulates that Nigerians ought to control coastal trading within their country. At present, through a regime of waivers, the bulk of the seafarers operating in Nigeria are principally foreigners. The skill gap, which is estimated at about 40,000 persons on the surface, appears insurmountable. But this has not deterred the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency Nimasa from confronting the situation. As a responsible regulatory agency, Nimasa took up the initiative to develop a seafarer base, not only to satisfy the requirements of the Cabotage Act, but to also satisfy the global demand for seafarers. In this direction, a strategic decision to evolve a structured and sustainable institutionalized scheme capable of developing core competencies in seafaring was taken and given birth through the National Seafaring Development Program (NSDP). The program allowed for the participation of state governments that were required to nominate candidates from their states and fund 60% of their training, while Nimasa will fund 40% of the training at reputable maritime academies around the world. The program also mandated the agency to fully fund the training of nominated youths from all over the country. Hence, the term 2 windows of participation in the program. Not all the states of the Federation seized the opportunity provided for in the Seafarers Development Project's first window. Nimasa, ever mindful of its mandates, then decided to accelerate the program by giving fresh impetus to the second window and increasing significantly the number of candidates offered full scholarship by the agency. Realizing the strategic importance of bridging the maritime skill gap and its significance to the nation's security and economic development, Nimasa has set an ambitious target of enrolling no less than 5,000 candidates in the NSDP by 2015. At present, about 2,500 candidates are enrolled in the scheme, the bulk of whom are enjoying full Nimasa scholarship in maritime academies in Egypt, India, Philippines, Romania, and the United Kingdom. Recently, during a visit to the United States, the management of Nimasa entered into talks with 2 US-based maritime institutions, and it is very likely that candidates of the scheme will be finding their way to those institutions in the United States of America. It is expected that the first batch of successful candidates with their certificates of competency in hand will be returning to Nigeria in the very near future. Since Nimasa took on the responsibility of fully sponsoring candidates for training overseas, a series of send-forth ceremonies have taken place at the Nimasa Resource Center. A unique feature of Nimasa's approach to the implementation of the scheme is that the agency insists that though candidates are chosen from all over the Federation, the program is still merit-driven and devoid of any suggestion of cronyism. The Director General of Nimasa is very insistent on this fact. Mrs. Obiageri Acholonu, a proud parent of a successful candidate, attests to the fact that the process is free and fair.
There was nothing like lobbying. Like I told you, I never knew anybody in Nimasa. I didn't know anything called Nimasa. In fact, when my friend told me, I was like, which one is Nimasa? So when he finished taking the exam, we went to sleep. You understand? We didn't know anybody. So I didn't lobby for anything. He sat for the exam, and I'm sure he must have passed for him to have been chosen.
The success of the program has attracted praise from the agency's supervising minister. The Honorable Minister of Transport, Senator Idris Umaru, was full of praises for the NSDP when he attended the last send-forth ceremony that took place in Lagos recently.
In the area of capacity building, the Nigeria Seafarer Development Program is making steady progress. Nimasa is successfully running the program for training all categories of seafarers. The need for full sponsorship of these seafarers by Nimasa became necessary as a result of the slow response of the states to key into this program. Currently, only about 15 states, including the Federal Capital Territory, are participating in the program 5 years on.
It must be acknowledged here that while for now Nimasa is engaged in sponsoring the training of youths abroad, a concerted effort is also in place to empower the Maritime Academy of Nigeria in Oron, Akwa Ibom State, to train seafarers locally. Nimasa by law is required to fund the institution and has on several occasions gone beyond the statutory obligations and given huge grant to fund the institution. Indeed, plans are afoot to acquire a training vessel to meet the sea time training needs of cadets of the academy. The agency is also building a maritime university at Okerenkoko, Delta States, in addition to funding the establishment of maritime institutes in 4 existing universities in the country. At the end of the day, it is emphasized that through Nimasa's consensus implementation of the scheme, Nigeria as a nation would have carved a niche as a veritable maritime powerhouse in not just Africa, but globally.
The Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa, hereby informs ship owners, seafarers, shipping agents, and the general public that the Nigerian flag state has ratified the Maritime Labour Convention 2006. The instrument of ratification was deposited at the International Labour Organization Office, Geneva, Switzerland on June 18, 2013. The agency wishes to inform the Nigerian maritime business community that the MLC 2006 is already in force globally since August 20, 2013. In the case of Nigeria, the effective date for the entry into force will be June 18, 2014 on account of the date of its registration at the Office of the International Labour Organization. Before the commencement date of June 18, 2014, guidelines for compliance with the provisions of the Maritime Labour Convention 2006 will be made available to owners of vessels and operators. This will enable them present their vessels for inspection in line with Regulations 513 on Maritime Labour Certificate and Declaration of Maritime Labour Compliance. For further inquiry, please contact the Director, Maritime Labour Services Department, 3rd floor, Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, number 4 Boma Road, Apapa, Lagos. Signed, Management.
A situation where vessels are being attacked in our waterways or in the Nigerian maritime domain can no longer be tolerated. It is the desire of Nimasa to guarantee zero tolerance for any form of piracy. Therefore, it is our desire, and with the clear directive from the government, we have to join hands together to stop this kind of illegality.
Another strategic initiative by Nimasa to achieve the objectives of a very wide mandate is the engagement of the private sector. In our next feature, prepared by our correspondent Chukwudi Ogana, we explore the public-private partnership option as it relates to Nimasa's mandate.
The decision by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa, to go into public-private partnerships is aimed at effectively carrying out its maritime administration responsibilities in accordance with international best practices. This is also to enhance enforcement of operating standard on merchant marine operators as stipulated by both national and international regulations. Prompt and effective response to maritime emergencies and mishaps also demand that Nimasa has the required response platforms, and the Public-Private Partnership Initiative provides the most viable option to achieve this aspect of the agency's mandate.
There was a day that we wanted to make use of 4 of their boats, and the 4 engines spread out on those boats were bad. Within 1 hour, this company was able to fix all the engines and we were back up and running. But if those boats belonged to the government, I will have to write a memo. The memo will have to pass to the next person. Then there will be a bid for the contract, and I guarantee you, in that period, while that memo goes right round through the ministries and whatever that is supposed to be, they would have attacked all our ships.
This capability becomes altogether compelling given the fact of Nigeria's position as a sub-regional maritime search and rescue coordinating center. Under the Marine Pollution Convention that regulates the management of the global marine environment, Nimasa has a responsibility to patrol Nigerian territorial waters to ensure that pollution and all other ecological unwholesome practices are not endangering our waters. The PPP option is the most efficient way this mandate is achieved. Globally, the issue of piracy and other violent crimes at sea is assuming worrying proportions. The over 800 kilometers of Nigerian coastal waters have not been exempt from this trend. However, Nimasa has been very proactive in dealing with the situation through a number of collaborative arrangements with the relevant security agencies. The PPP arrangement that Nimasa put in place for the provision of operational platforms has given the agency the edge in checkmating the activities of marine-based miscreants who hitherto had negatively impacted our national economy. This is against the background of limited resources in government coffers and the fact that private operators have demonstrated their efficiency in running businesses over the years. The gains of the increased number of platforms at the disposal of Nimasa and the security agencies through the PPP option has become evident in the face of the drastic reduction in the number of security breaches in Nigerian waters, especially the Lagos anchorage where the pilot scheme took off. It must be noted that the PPP arrangement also covers the provision of electronic surveillance equipment, which has greatly enhanced the capacity of the agency and her security partners to secure Nigeria's territorial waters. It will amount to a failure of leadership if a regulatory body as Nimasa does not take the lead in utilizing the opportunities that public-private partnerships provide. The current leadership of the agency has simply refused to dwell on past excuses that it lacked the operational capability to implement its mandate due to the lack of funds or government bureaucratic processes which do not respect emergencies that the maritime administration is usually faced with. The main reason for the platform provision and electronic surveillance in the PPP arrangement is to enable Nimasa establish a physical presence in the country's maritime environment that will make it possible for the agency to effectively carry out enforcement operations as required of a regulatory body. Nimasa, as a maritime regulatory agency, cannot achieve its mandate if it lacks the means to carry out field operations, which makes the public-private partnership imperative.
Special announcement from the Nimasa Science and Technical College. The admission list of students into the Nimasa Science and Technical College Okoloba, Delta State has been released by the management of the college. The full list was published on the 23rd of October in the following publications: The Vanguard, The Sun, and Leadership newspaper. Parents and guardians are requested to accompany successful candidates to the Nimasa Zonal Office, 19 Warri Saple Road, Warri, Delta State, for registration and documentation between the 28th of October and the 1st of November 2013 during working hours. For additional information, contact the Nimasa Science and Technical College Management on the following phone lines: 0816 4418735, 0806 387 0170, and 0803 474 1491. Announcer, Management, Nimasa Science and Technical College, Okoloba, Delta State.
And so we come to the end of this week's edition. As always, I hope that you found that illuminating. Now, please keep those questions, comments, and even criticisms coming. All you need to do is send an email to the address currently showing on your screen. Now, I'm going to be here, same time, same station next week. But until then, I'm wishing you smooth sailing and bon voyage.